bad feeling about this.
Back in 2019, the movie The Joker was released, and it was an unlikely smash hit. Based off the DC Comics villain character of the Joker, this film, starring Joaquin Phoenix, came out of absolutely nowhere to make over $1 billion. At the time, it was the highest-grossing R-rated movie of all time. It also was nominated for 11 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, and won the Best Acting Oscar for Joaquin Phoenix. And he deserved it. He was absolutely brilliant in this movie. It was extremely well done. It was well acted. It was well scored. It was well shot. But it seemed to be a one-and-done film. However, $1 billion is $1 billion, and despite Phoenix saying he would not make a second movie, and Todd Phillips, the director and screenwriter, saying he wouldn't make a second one, well, Warner Brothers wouldn't take no for an answer. They backed up the Brinks truck and paid both men a mint to come and make a sequel. Now, when the sequel was announced, there were a lot of people, myself included, who were a little bit leery. After all, the first one had a pretty set ending. It also had a lot of ambiguity about it. You weren't able to tell what was real, what was in the head of Arthur Fleck / the Joker, and that mystery led to a lot of discussions. In fact, it helped propel the movie forward. People are still talking about it to this day. So, the fear was that, we wouldn't get a good sequel. So when it was announced that not only would there be a sequel, but it would partially be a musical, it seemed very odd for the subject matter. And it raised some red flags. Now, of course, we live in the era of sequels and prequels, and follow-up movies for every single little thing that is even a mild hit. But, not everything is a success. Think of last year's The Marvels. That was the sequel to the Captain Marvel movie. Now, Captain Marvel made over $1 billion, but the sequel made only slightly over $200 million. It's not only the lowest grossing movie in MCU history, but it lost the studio hundreds of millions of dollars. So what do we have here? Is the Joker sequel? Is it a success? Does it build on the original story? Or is it going to be another Marvels, a movie that is a monumental flop, that is despised by the fans, and that cost the studio hundreds of millions of dollars? Well, before we answer that, let's talk a little bit about the plot to the movie Joker. Folie. Sorry, I don't speak French.
Let's talk.
So here we find Arthur Fleck. He's in custody in Arkham State Hospital awaiting trial for the crimes he committed 2 years ago, which we saw in the prior movie. His lawyer plans to argue that Arthur has dissociative identity disorder and that his Joker personality is responsible for the crimes. At a music therapy session, Arthur meets another patient, Harleen Lee Quinzel. Lee confides to Arthur that she grew up in the same neighborhood he did, had an abusive father who died in a car crash, and was imprisoned after burning down her parents' apartment building. Lee also expresses her admiration for the Joker's crimes and his personality. And as the two become closer, they fall in love, but the toxic nature of both people lead to carnage as his trial moves forward to the end. So what works in this film? Well, once again, Joaquin Phoenix. He gives a brilliant performance as Arthur / the Joker, much like he did in the last film. He's dark, he's gritty, he's disturbed. He really brings this character to life, flaws and all. Also, Lady Gaga is excellent. She is fantastic as Harley Quinn. That's who she's playing here. I was surprised at how good she was in this role, really bringing out the low-level psychotic nature of this character. And once again, like the last movie, it's beautifully shot. It's so dark and foreboding, and it has a really great musical score. Oh, what doesn't work in this movie, however, well, there's a lot. Now, when it was announced that it was going to be somewhat of a musical, people were very skeptical, and they had every right to be. There are many musical numbers in this film, and each and every one of them completely take you out of the movie. Some of them are just shoehorned into the film for no reason whatsoever. Now, I'll admit, I was intrigued by this film. You know, the first hour was pretty decent, even with the odd musical numbers. But as the story moved along, and we got to the last maybe 45 minutes to the hour of this movie, it's a complete and utter betrayal of the last film. And really of the character itself. Look, the Joker, he's not a hero in any stretch of the word. But they completely deconstruct who he is and what he is, and it just becomes muddled. And it's a mess. I don't want to spoil it, but you know what? The hell with it. You shouldn't waste your time on this movie anyway. So, at the end, not only does he admit that, oh yeah, I'm not the Joker, it's all just false. I'm just an ordinary, flawed, and damaged guy. But he is murdered at the very end of the film in Arkham by someone who never had a line in the movie, and we're supposed to believe that this person becomes the real Joker. Like, what the hell is even going on here? It was like they made this movie to completely shit on the original film. Clearly, the writer and director had no desire to make a sequel, but he took the payday, and instead of giving a solid movie, it seems like he was just wanting to piss off the fans and give a giant FU to the studio. And really, but why? The first movie made $1 billion. You could have made a solid sequel. It might not have been as good, but there was a possibility to make a good movie here. But they didn't. He decided to go in this weird, different direction. So typical of 2024 Hollywood.
It's terrible.
Finally, the movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and you feel every damn second of it. I couldn't wait for this movie to end. I couldn't wait to get out of the theater. It was that bad of an experience. It's a shame because you completely waste the talents and the abilities of your two leads with this horrible script. This movie is a disjointed mess and a waste of time. It's just tired. It's not particularly interesting. I mean, it does look good from a production design standpoint, and the two leads are really good, but the rest is trash. Everything was teed up for this movie to be a massive success. It ends up being one of the most egregious misfires in recent movie memory. This movie plays out as an underwhelming, unwanted epilogue to a film that did not need one. It represents the traps of franchises, sequels, and IPs. Sometimes there is value in leaving well enough alone and quitting while you're ahead. Look, I've seen a lot of bad movies this year. We all have, for God's sakes. This one, sadly, might be one of the worst. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. No need to see it in the theaters, and honestly, I don't even recommend streaming it. It's that bad. Watch the original instead. Enjoy that and forget this movie even exists.
Don't waste your time.
Well, that's it for me this week. Tune in next week where, hopefully, I see something better than this. In the meantime, click that like button, subscribe, leave a comment or a question, share this video with friends and enemies alike. And as always, thank you for giving me your valuable time, and I'll see you next week. Take care.